Chapter 81 Science. The Key to Everything. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Dorian held the neatly carved wooden sticks and began chanting. Pap. 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 The sticks tapped each other, producing loud sounds that echoed out across the entire park. But this wasn't what shocked the audience the most. Right before their very naked eyeballs, they watched as several giant imprinted symbols zoomed out from the sticks as if they were projections. The strange yellow glowing symbols zoomed outwards across the water like magic. And at the same time, the wind seemed to rustle the trees and foliage all around, giving everyone a subtle heart attack. I'll go. The scene was so magical that words alone couldn't describe all that they saw. Gulp. Everyone, especially the security guards, swallowed hard when seeing the scene before them. What the hell was this sorcery? Fatty Ping's chubby rolls of fat jiggled in fear when standing behind Superior Nemo. Superior. What? How can this be possible? Do you think that there are mini projectors implanted into those sticks? I don't know. Nemo replied in a daze. He was also more inclined to believe that these images were projected ones. It was just that even if something was projected, there was a certain look to it that made one feel like it was digitized. Take for example, if one projected something on a wall. One could tell that it's a projection. However, the images they saw now were so real like, making him feel as though if he were to grab them, he would be able to touch them physically. And more still, what was up with the strange wind that engulfed them whenever the weird symbols were sent out towards the waters? Or could it be that there was something else happening here that he wasn't aware of? Immediately, Nemo caught himself thinking crazy and quickly reeled his leg back to the light. Yes. The scientific way was the true light of the world. Like so, Nemo adjusted his mentality and resumed his calm exterior, as though science could explain everything. Also, seeing how calm the Gia men were, Nemo couldn't help being curious about their thoughts on this matter. And more importantly, who exactly was this boy? Was he some grandmaster of some assassin research department? Are the symbols projected out a type of scanning mechanism that the government had just invented of late? Were they trying to find clues? Or the bones of the Gia girl instead? Nemo and the other guards were struggling to accept reality and still bent on science justifying everything. But before they could finally send their arguments for science, something even more jaw-dropping occurred that sent their brains crashing into oblivion. BRMM. Suddenly, one of the giant symbols hovering over the massive lake changed from bright yellow to dark purple. And almost immediately, all the other symbols rushed towards the scene. Time crazy, heading to that exact location and turning purple as well. Dorian held the same pose for a bit, with both sticks touching one another. Before slowly lowering the wooden bars again. She's in there. Boom. Everyone almost fainted from shock. She's in the water. Then didn't this mean that she was dead? After all, how could a human breathe underwater for so many days? The security guards all had pitiful expressions on their faces when looking at the Gia family. And at the same time, the Gia people, who everyone was pitying, only felt their hearts tighten against their chest in pain. The Grand Master said that he would get their Gia girl back alive. So they had a certain amount of trust in him. But it was just that now, they began doubting a bit. Their Gia girl wants a fish. So could she truly stay alive all this time? Their breathing became heavy the more distorted their faces grew. And Pia was the first to break down silently, without making a sound. She dared not disturb the Grand Master. But the thought of her daughter staying here while that fraud went back and enjoyed her daughter's privileges, only made her feel sympathy for her poor baby. Old Gia and Wei Gia felt their lips vigorously when looking at the giant purple symbols spin haphazardly around that spot. Buboom. Buboom. They clutched their hearts and tried their best to control their breathing because they knew that the worst was yet to come. That's right. They hadn't gotten their Gia daughter back. Grandmaster. You said she's alive, right? Old Gia asked anxiously. And Dorian simply threw his head behind his shoulders with a lazy smile on his face. Ichim. She's still alive. Good. 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 Security guards. Yeah. Was there something they were missing here? The park guards almost fell in disbelief when listening to Dorian. Hello. How can this guy give the Gia family hope after saying that the girl had been immersed in water all this time? She was definitely dead, okay. Gone. Finito. Fish food. Finished. Dead. What other ways could one say it? Nemo thinned his lips in pity, feeling that the Gia family didn't seem to be able to handle the death of their deceased one. Sigh. Could this be the start of the fall of great legends? Grief and denial typically went hand in hand. And for most strong men, they could bypass denial and accept facts. And Nemo honestly thought that the Gia men would be able to accept the truth. But it looks like even if the girl's body got fetched, they might refuse to bury her, being obsessed and thinking that she was still alive instead. This alone was enough to show how loved the girl was. But then again, something else had been bothering him. Given that the dead body has been submerged for so long, shouldn't it float to the surface by now? That's how a typical dead body worked. So why hadn't it risen all this time? Or could it be that some massive boulder underneath the water made it stay in place instead? There were so many loopholes in the matter that made Nemo's head begin to hurt. Forget it. He gave up. Let the body get retrieved first. With that, he sighed in pity with his hands in his pocket, looking like a cop who was about to lean to the side and light a cigarette in sympathy. Now, they just had to wait for the police to get here and dig the body out of the waters. At least that's what he thought. Boom. 0_0, Science. Science. Where art thou? Chapter 82 Found her. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Now, things were moving very fast. In a flash, Dorian threw his sacred sticks back at Rollin as if telling him to place them back into their spots in the boxes. From there, he stretched out another hand and magically made the strangely carved gold coins float in the air like sorcery. Whoosh! They floated in his direction and remained floating above his hands too. F******. The scene made the security guards jump and tremble in alarm. Oh! But the show had just begun. With his hands apart, and the coins randomly floating above both hands, Dorian began chanting some strange words in the fastest manner ever. No one heard a word he said, only hearing something like, SHWHSHWHSHWHSHWH. His chants sounded like whispers to them as they grew louder and louder, accompanied by a strange wind that also grew fiercer and fiercer as well. But the most eye-widening scene was when the coins suddenly caught fire on their one while rotating and floating above his hands. BRMM. The fire burned and raged with a strange power that made everyone stare in stupor. This. F******. What was this operation? Dorian gave them no time to think, as they finished his chants in less than 2 minutes. And suddenly, the wind stopped, the trees quieted down, and the floating coins that were haphazardly moving in the air also paused while still floating above his hands. Good. Everything had come to a standstill, silence. Speechless. The park guards were speechless, with a hint of fear in them. And that's why they were also hugging each other like frightened scaredy cats. Only, they did so while still opening their eyes and mouths like statues. 0 degree, the atmosphere at the moment was choking and tense, with all sorts of emotions mixed up in one place. But now, with his changing over, Dorian slowly opened his eyes and stretched his hands upwards. Go. And the floating coins seemed to obey his command, as they dashed toward specific points along the water surface, leading up to the massive purplish floating symbols. Swish. 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 The coins were off. They floated and formed two parallel lines leading to the symbols. And when all coins were in position, they suddenly dropped straight through the water, heading down to the deep bottom floors of the lake. Those watching only saw the coins lead into the water but didn't know why. And in no more than 2 seconds, another eye-trembling scene transpired. Boom! The waters divided, forming a path towards the location where the floating symbols were. And at this point, these men couldn't deceive themselves again. ****. Pa. Nemo slapped his cheek in shock. No, this can't be. His eyes were definitely deceiving him. If not, what about science? What about his belief in life? Magic. Magic. It really was magic. Everyone felt their throat bob when looking at the fishes swimming against the walls of the open space. They could see things as if looking through the glass walls of a fish tank or aquarium. Grandmaster. Grandmaster. Now, they understood why the young man was called Grandmaster. All this happened in just a few seconds. And before their excitement could really drill in, an eerie burst of laughter echoed out, bringing them back to reality. Gra. What was that? Everyone fearfully turned their attention to the furthest end of the open path, and immediately felt like throwing up in panic. At the very bottom of the lake, several feet below, a very spine-chilling scene infiltrated everyone's eyeballs without warning. Words were not enough to describe how repulsed their brains were just from seeing things at the distance they were at. They saw several insect-like creatures with fishtails standing guard over a strange cage. The creatures looked like they were half insect, half fish. And as for the cage they were guarding, it was too weird. The prison-like cage bars were of some strange black smoke. The smoke formed an orb-ball-shaped prison that looked like it was hovering a few inches above the lake's floors. And even though they couldn't see who was in it, they had a hunch that it should be the girl. Tremble. 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 Goosebumps filled their besides, as their eyes continuously stared at the scene with transformed horror. Bluff. All security guards puked their intestines out when they saw some of the monsters fly towards the gang. Look away. Look away. Look away. Their brains kept telling them to look away, but their eyes seemed to reject the idea, no matter how hard they tried. And now, they kept vomiting continuously while being scared into peeing as well. Mommy. Their minds blacked out in a heartbeat. Plop. Several people fell on their butts and waved their hands frantically in fear. No. No. It's going to eat us. It's going to eat us. I don't want to die. That's right. I'm too young to die now. And besides, if I die, who's going to feed my pet cat? Guys, I think we should get out of here fast. Yeah. Yeah. I'm right with you on this one. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. T0T. The chaotic scene was too much for many to bear. Seeing such things and knowing that they exist was enough to make one turn crazed. Do you mean to tell them that all this time they were working in the park, these creatures had been here with them all along? Boom. An explosion occurred in their minds as the truth made them paralyzed and weak. Their eyes darted around crazily, looking at each other as if looking for the answers to their questions. And at this moment, many had even forgotten how to breathe. The scene had quickly turned into a chaotic one. But luckily, before anyone could move a muscle, Butler Sheng was there to restore order. Everyone, please quiet down. Remember, we gathered you all here for your own safety. So if you leave, then I guarantee that you will only have one outcome. Death. Instantly, everyone froze. Gulp. Death. Very quickly, many became obedient. And Dorian, who saw the creatures flying their way, only jumped in the air like a heavenly master. Sheng. Zhulin, Rollin. I'll be heading to the orb. Handle the rest. Right, Grandmaster. Good. With that, he was off. Swish. Chapter 83 Chosen Warriors. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Swish. Dorian hovered in the air and immediately took off, leaving everyone with their mouths hung wide open. You know. Even the Jia men hadn't seen him hover before. So this alone was too shocking for words. And the moment he dashed away like lightning, their hearts skipped a bit, as if they were watching a superhero do his thing. Many felt like wiping their eyes to be sure that they saw what they did. It was just that soon, their shock turned into fright when they saw the Grandmaster leave them here alone. You know, they didn't hear the words Dorian said to Butler Sheng and the rest, so how could they not feel panicked? At first, seeing Dorian fly towards the cage at the far bottom of the lake, they thought Dorian would in turn take care of those insect demons who were flying over here too. But who would have known that the Grandmaster would act as if he were blind and allow these creatures pass him by? I mean, Dorian was so fast that even the creatures couldn't do anything when passing him by. They paused and looked at him strangely before continuing their journey onwards after seeing all the delicious food waiting for them on land. And the closer they got, the more waves of fear they felt coming from the group. It smelt so delicious that they couldn't help speeding up greatly. As for the one who passed them by, they left those still guarding the guard to take care of him. No. What they were interested in were these tasteful beings here. Zoom. Their molding wings fluttered faster as they watched their prey scream and yell in fright. Fatty Ping and several other guards had already pooped themselves in fear while on the floor crying and oozing out snot. They held their hands above their faces, and kept their heads hunched downwards for fear of looking at the gruesome scene before them. The Grandmaster left them. The Grandmaster left them. What should they do? What should they do? Some wanted to run, but seeing the Jia family members still standing there, rooted on the same spot, the words of Butler Sheng quickly resurfaced in their minds again. If they fled, they would die, maybe by being chased to death by these creatures. So they dared not risk it. After all horror movies show that after splitting up, danger was always lurking around. So wasn't it better to stay in a large congregation? Yeah. Besides, if the Jia people were still like that, then that meant that they had some protection up their sleeves, right? Right. With that, all the security guards got up, stumbling, fell and continuously rushed to stand behind the Jia men. At the same time, Butler Sheng and the rest recalled Dorian's words and quickly did as they were told. At present, they were just the three of them, and these creatures were about 60 flying at them. So no matter how they looked at it, they needed more help. Of course, Dorian could have made another formation to secure and keep everyone safe. But he had already expended a great amount of energy to set up a formation around the entire park. They might not be able to see it, but the whole park was infected. Thus, he had to clean up before sunrise. He also had to free the girl from the smoke cage and fight a few of these goons. So no matter how one saw it, he who hadn't recovered his full energy from the last battle, couldn't do too much. And that's why he dared not use up more of his energy to place another formation around them. You see, he had foreseen the issue with the park because of how Blood Moon demons acted. By sunrise, not only should the girl die, but the entire park would wither and die with her as well. Blood Moon demons were very territorial. And when they marked a spot and got done with it, they never wanted anyone else to use it again. It was theirs and theirs alone. Beov Dorian had long foreseen the many dilemmas ahead. Thus, he knew that he also had to recruit a few more fighters for tonight's job. Well, the girl belonged to the Jia family. So who better to join in on the action than them? They were strong and well-trained men who were also quick in motion. so they should be able to handle things for a bit. It was just that they would never be as swift as Butler Shang and the rest who just began their cultivation journey. Sure. Even if Butler Shang and the rest hadn't broken through their mortal bodies, their bodies were already stronger when compared to the rest. But what made things sweeter was that their body also felt lighter as well. Their speed was a little faster, and their eyes began adjusting better too. Additionally, with the heavenly oath they took, and the single spell chant that he taught them today, their moves would be 5 times more effective than a regular person who buys talisman papers and uses it. They were now warriors for the heavens and could call upon the heavenly powers to descend and fill their talismans with divine energy before they used it. This was the difference between those who took the oath and those who didn't. After all, talismans and even protective charms could be bought on the streets and even used by mortals. But when an exorcist uses them, it's an entirely different matter altogether. Butler Fong, Ren Jin, Wei Jia, Old Jia and 3 others stepped forward after seeing Butler Sheng's signal. When they first got to this place, Butler Sheng had asked them to pick out their warriors. And at that time, their hearts were filled with excitement, fear and all sorts of emotions. They touched the papers in their chest pockets, feeling very surreal. Will they truly be allowed to fight? Chapter 84 Insects, Reform. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Will they truly be allowed to fight? Time waited for no one. And soon Butler Sheng's words echoed out again. Everyone, who isn't fighting, stay low. And for the warriors, take your positions around the rest and protect them all. Right. The Jia men responded while stepping forward and surrounding the rest. Thup. 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 Very seriously, they dashed around the tense scene as fast as they could. Some also went to the center of the circle too. And now, with everyone else stooping or sitting on the ground, they could see everything easier. Good. Old Jia and 2 others chose to stay within the circle of civilians in case some of those creatures tried to swoop in and grab one of the security guards or the other Jia men not fighting. As for Wei Jia, Butler Fong, Ren Jin, Butler Sheng, Rollin, Zhulin, and 1 other Jia guard, they chose to surround the circle's perimeter instead. And now, it was 10 warriors versus 60 flying monsters. Of course, these creatures went straight for the kill, aiming at the warriors. Why? Because the warriors who were standing up were the first people they could see. Now, seeing their prey right before their eyes, the creatures celebrated in glee at the deliciousness of it all. Z.Z.Z.Z.Z, damn it. Wei Jia's muscles seized, and his face quickly became as red as a tomato. A deep wave of panic gushed over when he saw 2 creatures salivating and flying his way. What was this? Were they so eager to eat him up? Now Wei Jia understood how rabbits felt when being hunted, but would he give in to his terror and accept death like that? No. No way. Zzzzz, the loud buzzing sounds of these creatures zooming in closer echoed out across the scene, and soon, everyone heard these creatures say words that they could understand. Ha 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 ha. Food. Food. The boss always rejected us from emerging from the bottom of the lake. But now, the boss won't be mad that we came out, right? Food. Food. I can't believe we can finally eat human food after so long. That one looks juicy. That one is mine. Ha 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 ha. Foolish humans. What do you think you can do against us? It's brave that you think you can protect the rest in such a stupid way. But who are we? We are demons. The ones who are meant to eat you all up. One of them said. And the moment he did so, the amount of fear that oozed out from the entire group only made them feel ecstatic. The cowering security guards who heard this only felt their bodies turn softer and mushier than it already was. Yet, they dared not speak or look up, in order to avoid catching the eye of the creatures. Please don't eat them. Don't eat them. They don't taste good. They taste yucky. Pum. Several people farted subconsciously, and the smell of poop was still strong amongst those who gave into their human instincts when frightened. Fatty Ping looked at his meaty body fearfully. Now, he truly wished that he was all skin and bones. Seeing how he was, wouldn't those things try to target him first? Lying trough. Why did the heavens make him so good? Why did he seem irresistible to demons? Drip. Their saliva dripped out as they dashed speedily towards the warriors. Ha 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 ha. It was time to feast. Boom. Several large explosive sounds went off, and soon, several loud eerie cries resounded out. Zioa, some creatures got blasted back with serious injuries. Missing wing, missing arm, holes through their bodies. Their injuries were brutal. What? The other creatures looked at the scene in shock that these people could harm them. And for Wei Jia and the others who threw the talisman papers, they were more or so stunned by how powerful these tiny pieces of papers were. F*******. Wasn't it far better than gold itself? Their hands trembled and subconsciously went towards their pockets as if making sure that their babies were still there. That's right. These talisman papers were now their new babies. I'll go. How have they been walking around in this world without them? For the first time in their lives, they felt so unprotected and hurt. They felt like they had just been reborn. Everyone was now immersed in their own little world. Or rather, they were focused on something else that caught their attention. The ones killed by the Grandmaster's men died almost immediately, while those they attacked only got injured. So why was that all about? As for the wounded creatures, they were now fuming mad at the sneak attack that these humans gave them. Ah, it hurt. It hurt. It hurt so bad. All they knew was that something within them was burning like fire, and seemed to clash with their entire beings. What? What? What was that? Black blood. Black blood dripped from their wounds, with a sizzling sound coming off from it. Vapor also flew out of their wounds, and perimeters of their injuries still seemed to glow brightly, as if the fiery flames from whatever attack they received were still burning within. Regenerate. Regenerate. Why were they regenerating so slowly? What was going on with their bodies? Of course, they didn't know it yet. But before that corner was hit by pure, holy energy, it wouldn't regenerate as fast as it would if hit or stabbed by any mortal weapon. Their regeneration ability had now drastically decreased by 100 times. And now, they were left with this situation, feeling the constant burn seep into their very fibers. It was just that they too had never met exorcists. So coupled with the gut-wrenching irritation they were feeling now, their minds were as blank as an empty sheet of paper. All that concerned them was their rage. Damn you! Damn you, humans! You all will pay for your treachery. Reform! The insects all said simultaneously before revealing a chilling scene that made everyone freeze in place. This was bad. Bzzzzz, all insects carried their injured comrades, hovered in the air and soon began merging and combining with one another murderously. Ha 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 ha. Humans! You will pay. Thap. 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 Thap, they merged into one. Chapter 85 Week. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. A strong wind swooped in, rustling the leaves vigorously. And the summer night, which was supposed to be warm and just right, was now extraordinarily icy and cold. Woo, 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 it was so cold that just breathing out seemed to leave a thin whiff of cold airy smoke from one's nostrils. Cold. Cold. The night was chillingly cold. And the creature that was merging and growing bigger, slowly took a monstrous form while screaming murderously. Ha 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 ha. Humans, you will pay, its eerie voice tingled the spines of those that heard it. And when many lifted their shivering heads, what they saw quickly made some flat out faint. Plop. They were out cold. Hideous. Hideous. Boggling. They wished they could pluck out their eyeballs and smash them with a stone. Ugh! Dorian, who had long dealt with the insects guarding the cage, frowned for a bit before looking back and seeing the monstrous thing that kept merging and growing on its own. Hm. Very calmly, he shrugged, turned back to smile at the mysterious thing before while connecting his mind to all warriors out there. 4 minutes. Old Gia and the rest looked around in shock, as if trying to confirm if they were the only ones who heard a voice ring in their heads. -0°, Roland pushed his glasses inwards. The Grand Master means we should hold it up for 4 minutes. I'll go. The Grand Master can also communicate with us through the mind. Blink. Blink. Everyone was utterly baffled and awed by the Grand Master's greatness. But before they could think about it longer, Roland quickly woke them up from their stupor. It's merging and growing stronger. We have to attack and stop it fast. HM, Butler Shing responded. You three, continue guarding the others. As for the rest, let's go. Right. They replied in unison before taking their battle stance and rushing towards the merging beast like crazy. Yes. They couldn't jump or fly as high as Dorian, so their attacks could only reach the creature's knee area, even after jumping high. Nonetheless, they dared not give up. Swish. Like ninjas out for blood, the gang moved speedily. Before nodding at one another and spreading out to surround the giant creature that was still in merging mode. Thup. 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 Thup! Butler Fong squinted his eyes, took out several talisman papers and locked his gaze on the creature's left knee. He speeded up a bit more, steadied himself and got ready to make his jump. Of course, he did so while keeping his gaze upwards from time to time, making sure that the creature hadn't noticed him yet ever since it began its merging mode. Buboom. Buboom. Heart racing, blood pumping, adrenaline rushing, and the feeling of being a superhero gushing into his mind in just this split second. Could he do it? Panic and self-doubt switched off his brain for a bit, weaving it into a basket of countless troubles. But in just another breath, his determination peaked up again. He was only human. And it was normal for him to have moments of doubt and defeat. But rising up to any challenge was what truly separated the strong from the weak. As if fueling his body, Feng's determination grew off the charts. And with full momentum, he jumped up in the air with inches to spare, planning to give it his all. Time seemed frozen in place as he stretched the talisman paper towards the creature's rotten knees in slow motion. This was it. This was it. He was trained for battles. He was prepared for this. He can do this. He could take down this creature. With that, Feng's eyes glimmered with a deep light that seemed to have awesome his fighting spirit. Bam! A loud sound echoed out, followed by a frail cry of pain. Silence. A brief silence followed amidst the chaos, with countless people stretching their necks like peacocks. And when the dust got settled, they just had one word to describe their overall feelings. ****. PFFF. Fong coughed a mouthful of blood after almost breaking down an entire tree with his body alone. How? How did it happen? This question not only left him baffled, but also left the audience and the others pushed back confused too. All they saw were after images of it all, making them realize just how hard it was to be human. Ugh! His entire back felt heavy with pain. When was the last time he got so beaten up? Fong gritted his teeth unwillingly. Damn it. Damn it. Damn it. Sweat soon oozed out of his body, mixing with the chilly air, only making him feel worse. And looking around, he also noticed that he was one of the fortunate ones that got flown away. Why? Because the rest now have several cuts on their bodies too. This alone showed that they had been thrown away by the creature's tail. That's right. Even though it was rotting, it still maintained its scales in some regions of its tail. And this was what probably sliced the others. Woo woo woo. Wei Jia's breathing also became hard after getting brutality hit as well. He had bladed marks around his thighs, as well as his internal injury from hitting a tree too. Yes. It was painful as hell. But ask him to give up. No way. Wei Jia dragged his wounded body to stand and quickly made his way back into the battlefield once more. And Butler Feng, as well as Ren Jin, were the fastest to stand up after him as well. Master. Please stay back. Your wound is bleeding. Wei Jia looked at the duo murderously. Feng. Ren Jin. Stand down. The duo turned silent for a bit before stepping to the side and helping Wei Jia support himself. Master, if you're going in, then permit us to be your shields. You. Wei Jia looked at them with a hint of helplessness in his eyes. Fine. But don't you dare slow me down. Says the man with the injury. With that, they left the trees and stepped onto the open space with complicated looks in their eyes. Pa. Boom. Bam, Butler Sheng, Rollin and Zhulin hadn't been flung away since then, and looked wickedly fast compared to them. Feng thinned his lips hard. Master. Was this the difference between an exorcist and us? Wei Jia clenched his fists and looked at the scene in silence. They were different. Tick-tock, 3 minutes more. Chapter 86. Why was it here? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Like so, Butler Feng and the rest continued being punching bags to the best of their abilities, holding them back to some extent. There were times where one of them would almost get carried off and eaten. But thanks to either Rollin, Zhulin or Butler Sheng, they would be saved in the nick of time. But as for Dorian, he was in full concentration mode now. Well, one would think that the thing that kept him busy all this time would have been the matter of releasing the girl from the floating barred smoke cell. But if anyone thought so, then... Oops. Wrong answer. Dorian examined the thing in his hand again with a strange light in his eyes. As he expected, these demons managed to bring a real demon relic into this world. That alone should be an underworld crime. Demon relics were like the items that the former or current demon rulers had worn or used during their reign. These items had stored demonic power of those former people, and were items that any demon, even the most powerful people, sought to gather. And it was a law and a taboo for these relics to leave the underworld. Do you know how powerful these relics were? Heh. It was akin to Poseidon dropping his trident down on earth for any random person to pick up. And you know, the longer the demon ruler or powerful demon wears or uses certain items, the stronger those items would be after they die. Even their rings, if dropped into this world, could cause the next world wars. These underworld rulers reigned for millenniums and centuries. So even their clothes and armor were something that people in the underworld scrambled for. Of course, underworld rulers weren't the only ones capable of leaving such string relics. Any powerful demon ranked 2 places below the underworld ruler could probably do so too. But theirs wouldn't be stronger than their leaders. Anyway, even with the relics all about, the real issue lies in unlocking the potential of these relics. In the hands of those who weren't worthy enough, these relics would continue to be ordinary. And might just be used for ordinary purposes. Take for example, a holy sword. In the hands of those who weren't chosen, the sword would remain dormant, but could still be swung around, used and might even get rusted too. However, after the sword finds or acknowledges its user, it will awaken, and even the rust from it would shake out, revealing a brand new blade. The same could be said for demon relics. Heh. How can the relic of a mighty demon be awakened by just anyone? The system looked at the relic strangely. It was a skeletal bone finger. But something else bothered it. Host. How do you know that this thing is a relic? Even back in your world, from what I've gathered about your past, you've never seen a relic before. So how do you know that it's this bone finger is one? Dorian rolled the finger across his palms with a strange smile on his lips. I would also like to know how I know. Host. Has anyone ever told you that you're scary when you smile like that? Shiver. Shiver. The system looked at its host and shivered like a frightened chicken. It was seriously starting to suspect its host. Dorian chuckled and quickly ignored the system. He glanced around and once again confirmed his thoughts. They hadn't unlocked the finger's potential and had even discarded the finger as if it were garbage. So the one thing Dorian was sure of was that these lesser demons might not have known about the finger's might. So could it be that they accidentally brought it over? But that wasn't right. Why would they just carry a bony finger without any purpose? Or could it be that someone in the underworld had secretly chosen these people to be his scapegoats in order to sneak the finger out? Dorian suddenly felt uneasy. Taking it out from the underworld was a crime for underworld creatures. And if the underworld law enforcers knew about this, any demon, be it a mighty one, could get stripped of their positions in a heartbeat. Here's the thing. The underworld was also needed to punish those who the heavens sent down from the mortal realm. That's right. The heavens and hell must and would always exist. Those who raped countless men and women, dissected their bodies, and so many other wicked acts, might be damned to suffer a punishment of 1,000 years in the underworld, undergoing the literal word hell. But bear in mind that the souls that get sent down for punishment also have what one might say was a heavenly tracker on them. So no demon would dare to, eat or steal any soul sent from above. Thus, they did their jobs on the surface as per heaven's requests. And after receiving the soul, they would punish it according to the rules. Following that, the soul would get sent back to the heavens, who will in turn judge whether to continue punishing the souls via strange reincarnations and whatnot. After that, one might be a horse or even a hunted fish. Well, either way. The underworld dared not mess with the souls sent down for punishment. And it has been like this since the creation of the underworld. Because of the gift of human free will, good and evil would continue to exist. Now, back to the matter with the relic, it's clear that someone in power had sent it to this world. Maybe they know of it. Or could it be that they had found a way to awaken it? Could it be that this relic was one of the key items they would need before the big event? Dorian was deep in thought, while the system was also anxious as well. Host. You have to hurry. The others might not be able to last long at this rate. HM, he replied before keeping the finger aside. In truth, he could have broken the cage in a minute and a half if he wanted to. But after seeing the finger, he decided to give the rest a little training session by telling them to hold things off for 4 minutes. Hey! What could he do? Swish! Chapter 87 Gia Girl returned. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Alright. He placed the bone finger away and looked at the floating cage of black smoke that seemed to draw anyone who looked at it into a hypnotic state. The black cloud was continuously working around, the closer his body got to it. That's right. It acted like it had a mind of its own, trying to frighten Dorian back after feeling the holy aura emitting from Dorian's hands. Hop. 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 Dorian's fingers continuously moved as if he were some ninja. And as he continuously stretched his fingers in all positions, the gold coin in his hand floated on its own and began emitting various colors ranging from red to orange. The coin stayed in place in the air for a bit before spinning on the same spot faster and faster until it became leaving after images of itself. Whoop. 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 The coin then floated to an even higher height, gathering substantial holy energy from above. The spinning coin soon turned into a massive spinning ball of light that could blind anyone that peeked at it for long. What the hell was going on there? Both the creature and everyone else suddenly felt an intense pressure pressing onto their bodies like crazy. Their bodies, as if not their own, refused to move an inch no matter how much they tried to make it move. Even the creatures felt stagnated as well. Their expressions turned grim as they felt their entire bodies itch uncomfortably. Now, they felt like vampires who weren't strong enough to stay out in the sun. No. That wasn't even the best comparison because true blood and strong enough vampires could last in the sun for months. But weak and lesser vampires would burn from just a single ray of sunlight. No. It would be better to say that they felt like an ant that had been subdued to torture when one placed a magnifying glass on them during a boiling summer. A sizzling sensation echoed out, causing the creature's body to tremble in anguish. They flared their hands about, shaking from side to side and using their hands to hide the back of theirs as though everything was just a bad dream that would go away. With their backs facing the bright light, they felt several burning rays of light burn them mercilessly. And the most painful thing of it all was that the pressure from the light made them feel too weak to flee. Dorian, who still has his eyes closed and his fingers working, speeded up his chance the larger the holy ball grew. SHSHSHSHSHSH. His chants caused the air around him to turn vigorously. But that wasn't all. The rays of light quickly affected the black smoke cage, making it seem as if it was bubbling as well. BRR BR BR BRR. The sounds grew louder and louder until Dorian seemed satisfied. And soon enough, he opened his eyes and stared at the black ball coldly. Holy Inferno, light of Limbus! Extinguish the darkness within. Swish! Like lightning, the gigantic holy ball followed with the black ball. Boom! The clash happened like a movie. And before everyone knew it, a massive surge of white light surged out throughout the entire park, accompanied by a strong wind that threw several fish out of the lake's water. Swah! Everyone was soaking wet from the tidal wash. And at this moment, one might think that they were pleased or excited by it all. But no. Right now, they couldn't hear or see a thing. That's right. The catatonic explosion that seemed more like a holy nuclear one had taken away their sights and hearing. It was as if the entire world, including the insects, had decided to go to sleep. And this alone made their hearts race with horror. Blind and deaf at a time like this. What if the creature takes advantage of them, gobbling them up in one bite? Several people hire themselves tighter than before, as they earnestly wanted to awake their human senses, hoping and praying for the best. At this point, there was no denying that their entire stomachs felt knotted as a wave of acid swelled up within it too. Calm yourself, man. Old Gia reminded himself while clutching the now wet ground in panic. Worrying won't solve anything. Like so, countless people were afraid, brave, petrified, still held hope in their hearts, wishing that their sights would return to them sooner rather than later. And as if the heavens had heard them, the sight and hearing returned to normal. Their hearing seemed to be the first thing that returned to them. As for their sight, it slowly took form, first starting hazy until it became clear and clear by the millisecond. And before they could blink, Dorian was already standing before them with the girl. Dorian didn't bother about their dazed expressions and calmly handed the girl over to her mother. Pia, who touched the pale-looking girl, couldn't stop her lips from trembling hard, suppressing all her emotions locked up within her. You look at me, I look at you. She stared at Dorian eyeball to eyeball, as if wanting to get the truth from him. Grandmaster. Say it as it is. Is she my daughter? That's right. Was she really the darling Gia princess? Even though Pia could instantly feel the motherly connection, she still wanted to be 100% sure. Heh. Who knew if these monsters could replicate the feeling and make her take in another fraudster? Only her daughter deserved the best things from her. So why in heaven's name would she be willing to pamper another monster? If she made the same mistake twice, then she didn't deserve to be a mother. Of course, the other Gia men were also looking at the girl suspiciously. They really couldn't afford to go through the same thing again. Of course, the security guards who heard this started feeling suspicious of it all as well. Wait. It was now that a few of them pierced a few things together. In particular, Nemo felt like he had solved the case. But it was just that his thoughts shook him to the core. Nemo. Nemo. You smart son of B******ch. Your mind has done it again. That's right. A few days ago, if the Gia girl went missing in the park. Everyone looked for her. And when they found her, she was dripping wet from leaving the water. Again, it was reported that the Gia family did take her home. So doesn't this mean that she got switched with a monster? Neno opened his trembling mouth in a daze, feeling all numb from the shock his mind gave him. Well, I'll be damned. The Gia family took back a freaking Minster home. Holy cow. A few people who understood the truth were even more frightened about being out in society now. If these things could look like others, then who's to say that their wives, husbands, children or anyone close to them hadn't been switched up as well? Smoke. 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 Some of them wanted a cigarette to calm their anxiety. And all these thoughts passed through their heads in no more than 2 seconds. Dorian was still in a staring contest with Pia. She's your daughter. Drip. Drip. Tears flushed out of Pia's face as she tightened her group around her unconscious daughter. Thank you. Thank you, Grandmaster. Pia then looked at her daughter in fear. Don't worry. She's just unconscious. We'll finish her matter later on. For now, it's time to end this. In a flash, Dorian vanished and blocked the creature's attempt to carry one of the guards away. Slash. The creature screamed in pain when seeing one of its hands get sliced off. It wailed and backed away in pain, only to quickly fall to the ground on its butt while looking at Dorian in horror. How? How was this possible? Swish. Dorian calmly jumped in the air and smiled cruelly. 10 swords of death, finish him. Slash. 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 Slash, like a massive combo attack, all Link floating blades dashed towards its enemy like crazy, causing the creature to pierce multiple screams the harder the combo attacks landed. Slash. 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 Slash, no. Stop. Stop for us, mortal. We have a boss. We have a powerful boss who will kill you if we die. Dorian, as if annoyed, suddenly decided to change his attack. Hammers of Justice, 5. Style dance. Bam. 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 Bam, creature. T0T. Damn it. Damn it. The attacks rained harder and harder as giant mallet-like hammers continuously pounded the creature mercilessly. BDNVL.M and once again, those watching honestly felt like shedding a tear for the creature. Just from the way these creatures acted, one could see their fear when dealing with Dorian. That is, even when the creatures all broke away and dismantled from their giant forms and tried to flee, Dorian used several golden cowboy ropes to hook and reel them in. Where do you all think you're going? Get back here. Swish. No. Stop. Bam. Mortal. What you're doing is a crime. Bam. Please spare us. We are only children at 180 years old. Bam. 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 Bam, X.X, Dorian. Noisy. Chapter 88. The guest has arrived. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 5 a.m. Plop. Butler Sheng, Julin and Rollin fell to their beds in one big swoop. And with no second to lose, they quickly submerged themselves into dreamland. Snore the Sandman had already taken them away. And to recap on the crazy night they had, first. They fought their butts off, faced a crazy amount of creatures tonight, as well as completed the tasks assigned to them. But more importantly, for the fact that Dorian was near exhausted and drained after dealing with this issue. The Jia household paid a whopping 20 million for the fees and an additional 30 million appreciation bonus. That's right. They didn't know that it was that easy for them to make money. But to these high noble families, it wasn't expensive at all. Of course, they went to the Jia home later on and instructed them on what to do in order to purify their entire grand estate and themselves. But for the girl, he would particularly come over 3 times a week to completely settle her matter. Now, in total, Dorian had a little over 70 million when thinking about all the jobs he had done so far, as well as what little savings they still had in their Tian savings. So with 70 million, his budget for tonight was 55 million. That's right. He planned to buy an island for that price, no more. No less. And for that price range, he could get 650-1200 acres of land. That alone meant that his academy would be freaking huge, taking hours to get from one place to another. Fair enough, it was enough to make a moderate-sized secton. Well, now Dorian was ready for tonight's auction. With that, he closed his eyes and cultivated for the very hours of the morning until he sensed someone coming over. Him. He opened his eyes and vanished on the spot. Swish. 9:45 a.m. Chi-Yu stood outside the massive gate with a tightened chest. Just starting at the desolate but luxurious estate was enough to make her legs turn wobbly. She smacked her lips hard, feeling very out of place in this affluent community. This gated community had several guards at the very entrance of the place. And if any guest had to enter, they had to give their name, show their I.ds, undergo checks and whatnot. Like so, she was allowed in. But even at that, it took another half an hour for her to get to walk from the entrance gates to Dorian's estate. The luxury villas here had a great deal of land within each estate. And the further one went in, the bigger the estates in size. For her, she wasn't allowed to drive in with a taxi, so she could only walk on into the place. And the shock she received was enough to keep her tongue tied for ages. From the barred gates, one could still see the nudity of the villas. So while walking by, she had been dumbfounded and completely blown away by the many sights she had passed by. And the further she walked, the more nervous she became. Villa 37. The Tian residence. Gulp. Chi-Yu was in a dilemma while looking through the desolate yet stunning gated estate before her. The appointment was for 10 a.m. sharp. But it was just 9:45 a.m. So should she ring the bell this early or not? Typically, if this were a business meeting of some sort, she could go in early, sit and wait for her appointment. But in this case, what if such a move would annoy the Grandmaster instead? After all, she couldn't see any guards at the front gates or anyone who could be of assistance to her. So should she just wait? But then again, what if the right move was actually to ring the bell and get buzzed in? Damn it. Her brain was about to explode from all the guessing. And maybe that might have been the case if the door hadn't just opened on its own now. The creaky sounds of the metal bars slowly opening, frightened Chi-Yu who had been deep in thought. And like a cat on edge, the hairs across her body all stood in salute as she hopped to the side on one foot with her mouth opened wide. Buboom. Buboom. The gate's sudden action greatly stimulated her little heart. And Chi-Yu, who heard her name echo out, subconsciously tightened her grip on her handbag while quickly but vigilantly walking into the massive estate. Come in, Miss Chi-Yu. Are you sure? Blink. Blink. She did as she was told and moved in. But at this point, she hadn't seen anyone yet and was still on edge from just this little situation. At times, she would take one big step forward with one leg, and drag the other as if it were limp. All while looking around and hiding her bag tightly. As for where she had to go, the voice had already instructed her on that. You see, the main villa road led to the main building at the center of the villa. And from the main road were a few branch roads that led to 5 other buildings within the villa. It was easy to see that the main building was surrounded by 5 structures, all evenly spaced. It was as if these structures were guarding the main building. Nonetheless, the space between them was still great enough in such a way that they didn't destroy the beauty of the place. It all blended in well, with several lawns, fountains and fish ponds around. Nonetheless, this was a standard, typical villa style that was indeed below a powerhouse like the Tian's. But Chi-Yu, who didn't know this, thought it was the most incredible sight she had ever seen in her life. Degree, like so, she followed the voice guiding her into the estate, even into the main building. Yup. It was still guiding her now. Left turn. Past the hallway, right turn, enter. Enter. Chi-Yu took a deep breath before stepping into the massive hall before her. And instantly, her vision was drawn to the young man seated very far away from the doors. Grandmaster. This humble one has come just as requested. Chapter 89 to Nataji Village. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Grandmaster. This humble one has come just as requested. Chiyo's body remained bent and arched forward, giving the deepest bow that she could. Yes. She was bowing to show her humility before the Grandmaster. After all, that's how it was typically done in movies and books. So she felt it was only suitable that she acted the same too. No. Dorian raised his brows in amusement while marveling at how imaginative people in this world were. He had never placed any such rules, yet they seemed to have made up some imaginative rules and mannerisms when it came to him. Well, if it made them sleep better at night, what was it to him? Provided it didn't hurt anyone, he couldn't care less. For now, it was vital for them to solve her problems. Dorian glanced at her calmly. Raise your head. Thank you, Grandmaster. What about your family? Grandmaster. After placing the strange papers on them, it glowed faintly for only a second or even less. And then, they suddenly woke up, feeling better than before. She said with countless emotions choked up in her voice. Just thinking about the miracle she witnessed yesterday within their home, made her believe more and more in the supernatural. At this point, no one could convince her otherwise. And again, she realized just how cruel the world truly was. That's right. It was that bastard classmate of hers that did this to her family. All because of jealousy, that classmate had gone all out, trying to kill her entire family in one swoop. Last night, she told her parents about it all after they finally woke up. And because of the shock, they were so terrified that they dared not even play or smile too much with their neighbors. They weren't all that cautious before. But now, what if someone else tried to kill them in this same manner again? You know, it was also hard to process the fact that what Chi-Yu was saying was true. But the facts were right there. So they chose to stay indoors until the Grandmaster helped them. Chi-Yu, who was still interested in her thoughts, suddenly heard Dorian's voice echoing out. Stretch out her wrists. Without wasting time, she did as she was told, allowing Dorian to examine her even further. He looked at her intensely before nodding once more, as if confirming his thoughts yet again. But sometimes, he would frown, and other times, his frown would ease up again. And all his expressions were only making Chi-Yu anxious instead. Why did he frown? Why did he ease up and then suddenly frown again? Oh my heavens! Chi-Yu felt like she was about to go crazy now. Come on, man. Speak. What the hell was wrong with her now? Chi-Yu bit her like aggrievedly while looking at Dorian anxiously too. She wanted to ask but dared not. So what other choice did she have other than to shut up? Dorian, who didn't like her dilemma, continued to examine for a bit before leaving back into his chair. Miss Chi-Yu. It's just like I confirmed last time. But today, I realized something else about the matter. Something else, NV. Dorian nodded with his hand resting on his chin. Something else. He said deeply. And after that, he paused for another extended period before casually treating the whole matter as if it were nothing. That's all you have to say. Chiyu stared at him with open eyes, wishing that she could do something unspeakable to him. She would have liked to hit him 50. Combo lightning also to his face for making her go to hell and back within this single moment. You say you discovered something else that might be wrong. Then why not say it? Okay. Maybe he didn't feel it necessary for her to know. Then if that's the case, why not have it all together? Why start telling her that something was wrong first? Dorian, who didn't know what Chiyu was thinking, had long connected with Butler Sheng instead. Amongst the trio, Butler Sheng was the only Ken to wake up 40 minutes ago. In fact, he was still the only one up at this moment. After all, they had been overworked the entire day yesterday. And had only fallen to their beds around 5 a.m. And Miss Chiyo's appointment was by 10 a.m. So even though he didn't have to, Butler Sheng had still insisted on setting his alarm 40 minutes before Chiyo's appointment. You see, he volunteered to be their driver for today. And immediately after Chiyo's matter, they would return and sleep for a little more. After all, tonight, they would be out again, purchasing land. So they had to be fully energized for what was to come. Additionally, today, Dorian had long spoken to Biwo on the phone about matters here. This morning, Chan.Ki in the hospital was supposed to switch with Julin. So now, because the boys needed all the rest they could get, no switches would be done today. Everyone will stay right where they were. Bam! Right on cue, Butler Sheng opened one of the side doors leading to the hall and walked in wearing a very sleek coat, hat, pocket watch, and gloves on him. Of course, he was also holding another coat in his hands too. Grandmaster. The items have been placed, and the vehicle is ready. Good, Dorian replied approvingly. And seeing him walk towards Butler Sheng, Chiyu also followed along like a puppy too. She glanced at the scene of Butler Sheng aiding Dorian while wearing his coat and only felt as if she were watching some aristocratic movie of some sort. So this was how they did it in the movies. Butler Sheng kept fussing over Dorian as the duo walked on slowly. And when he was satisfied with Dorian's clean look, Butler Sheng then moved alongside Dorian. And from time to time, when there was a door ahead of them, he would move faster and do the job. Like so, the gang entered the vehicle. And this time, Butler Sheng was the driver. Of course, Chiyu dared not sit at the back with Dorian. Butler Sheng glanced at her calmly. You said Netaji Village. Yes, sir. It is indeed Netaji Village, within the outskirts of the city. I'm afraid that the GPS can only accurately take us to Netaji Village. But as for finding your particular home within the village, you'll have to show the way. Now, seatbelt, please. Chapter 90 to Netaji Village 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The vehicle drove in silence, with everyone immersed in deep thought. What was going to happen? How would today's event turn out? Will the Luck.Stolen family be able to survive this catastrophe? Chiyu stared at the white fluffy clouds with an expressionless face as if drawn into a world of her own. She felt like she was going to face off a mighty enemy in some final movie battle. And at this moment, the closer they got to her village, the more her heart drummed chaotically. Their vehicle drove out to the city and followed along the main road, passing several trees along the roads. And soon, they made a branch towards one of dusty, stone-filled roads with pot-holes in it. The road wasn't tarred in any way and was very uneven as well. Nonetheless, it was indeed a big 3-lane road. And from time to time, they would see several dusty trucks carrying fruits or private merchandise from being that wanted to go to the city and sell their goods. At times, they would also see the villagers with farming tools as well. The air here was far cleaner and far breathable than that in the city. And as they drove by, the villagers on foot looked at their car in shock and disbelief. Oh my God! They didn't know how much such a car would cost. But just looking at how shiny and nice looking it was, they felt that it should be pretty expensive. Vav! Just look at that car. Do you think that it's some rich tycoon coming to see the village chief again? Hey! It's possible. After all, wasn't it just 3 months ago that those big city people came to see the village chief to acquire land? Yes. 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 I think that might be it. No way. The last group of people that came arrived here in a large number. But this is just one vehicle driving by. So it's probably some rich guy looking for someone to marry. Hey! Do you think that the guy came for the village chief's daughter? Oh, I can already see it now. The village chief's daughter must have been able to catch the eyes of some noble young master. And he's here to propose to her. Wow! What a real Cinderella story. Bullish asterisk asterisk. How come it's the village chief's daughter who's the most suited to marry such a wealthy young master? What's wrong with my GG? Yeah. What makes that arrogant SL asterisk asterisk S daughter better than ours? Asterisk caret asterisk. The crowd of passerbys gossiped and came up with theories about why such a luxury vehicle would pass through this path or head to their village. It was just so bizarre, and catching to see such a feat, and Chiyu, who was in the car, only felt like leaning down into her seat for fear that anyone would see her. She couldn't even hear what people were saying, but knowing how rumors and speculation were quick to spread in her village, she knew that her reputation would go down the gutters after she was caught or seen stepping out of the vehicle. Some might speculate and start calling her a money worshipper. Moreover, after the Grand Master solved her problem, the moment when people would no longer see him around her, they would start saying that he dumped her for this, that and whatnot. The color from her face drained the moment Chiyu saw a few famous village gossipers ahead. Relax. They can't see through the glass. Butler Shing said casually, without taking his eyes off the road. Chiyu gawked in embarrassment from his words. Thank you. With that, she tried to control her nerves while sitting firmly in her seat. And Dorian, who saw her reaction, calmly closed his eyes yet again and began scanning his environment. Zoom. Like an eagle's eyes, he peered ahead in full ficus mode, seeing far more than what ordinary humans could. His senses were heightened so much that he could detect even the slightest change in weather. Dorian searched and did a few calculations for a while before quickly opening his eyes again. Butler Shing nodded his head after suddenly hearing Dorian's words in his head. The car speeded up a bit, leaving the very few passerbys on the road starting in wonder. And after driving onwards for a bit, it took a sharp grassy bend that looked like a one-way road deep into the forest. You know, as farmers and villagers, these paths were there for those who had to transport goods from their cultivated plot of land up the high hilly trails. Like so, they drove in and came across several of these man-made paths, going towards all sorts of directions. Stay foremost left. It was the most desolate amongst them all. Good. Bam. They stepped out of the car and shut the doors amidst Chiyu's worries. Grandmaster. Pardon my rudeness, but I think it's a bad idea for you to park your vehicle here. She said anxiously while still looking around vigilantly. Grandmaster, just as every society, there are always thieves amongst us all. So don't think that just because we're village folks, some people won't dare to steal from you. She warned again. But no matter how she warned, no one seemed to listen to her. It was as though she were unnoticeable or something. And for this, she only had invisible tears in her eyes to shed for this matter. Do you know how desperate, dangerous and ruthless village thieves were? Leave such a fine car out in the open like this, then once any of them find it, if they couldn't steal the car as a whole, then they would settle for taking pieces of it instead. That's right. She was talking about stealing the tires, windows and even the engine of the car. Hell. Don't joke with people here. Whatever could make them a quick buck without them having to lose money from their own pockets was a damn good deal. Now, Chiyu was perplexed and helpless in this matter. T0T. Grandmaster. It's not that I want to insult you, but could it be that you're so smart to the point that you lack common sense?